So we'll introduce ourselves. We want to make this as interactive as possible. So after sort of we get into the basics, if you guys have questions, feel free to jump in. My name's Shah. I'm an artist. I'm a rapper. I'm born and raised in Toronto. Atlanta is the city that launched my career. And over the past couple years, I sort of discovered Web3, and there's been this very fertile, very active, excited new world that I've stumbled upon. So I'm happy to jump into that. And my co-panelists.
Well, hey, I'm Shiva, and I work on product at OpenSea. Previously, spent a lot of time in music with companies like Spotify and YouTube, where I grew up more or less. And more in this world, for me, is really about the excitement of seeing a lot of artistic creativity come into a space at the same time that there's an influx of technical talent. And usually cool stuff happens then.
Cool. Hey guys, Andrew Schiffman. I'm the Vice President of Business Development at Yellowheart. We are an NFT ticketing platform, also music collectibles. I've been in the industry for over 20 years, working festivals like Coachella, artists from Lady Gaga, Black Keys, Linkin Park. I spent over 12 years at MTV and been at Yellowheart since January.
Hey everyone, my name is Blohm. I'm an international DJ, have played all over the world from major music festivals like EDC, Electric Zoo, etc. And now I'm the founder of SoundMint, which is a music platform that integrates music NFTs in a way to access artists in a whole new way. That's a very condensed version of my story, but thank you all for joining us.
Shah, you had a great opening question, or a topic.
So the question I want to get into that I think will sort of guide us is that as an artist, here are all the things that I've come across that I think that all of you guys being from different platforms can be very informative for myself and all the other artists out here and the artist reps out here. I think that the question that I get asked the most from Web3 whenever I'm doing interviews or this sort of thing is, how did you get to Web3? So myself, meaning as an artist who's successful in Web2, in the normal music world, in the real world, why are you even bothering with Web3? So I can get into that, but why don't you guys tell us all how you got into this space in the first place as well?
Yeah, I'll kick it off. Working with independent artists and emerging artists and established artists, I really found myself in a place where I can help grow their career and, be part of that breaking story. Also on the creative side, helping them build roadmaps and strategize. So really coming into Web3 allows me to do exactly that, but with new technology. And what I love is it's really a way for artists to get closer to their fans and fans to get closer to their artists. And, us as a platform, we just want to step out the way. We don't want to be a barrier. We want that 100% communication. At Yellowheart, we really are all about fan engagement and how can we provide tools. We have our own downloadable wallet, full of fan engagement through unlockable content, airdrops. We have native streaming, push notifications. So there's always of artists to engage with their fans and community, also through Discord and other means as well. So it's really just a brand new exciting platform that can really bring artists and fans together.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. The way I got into Web3 in general was probably how many others did, through crypto over the past few years, and then NFTs coming about and investing in different NFTs. And the technology definitely got me interested in how we can apply that to music in general. As a music artist myself, with my entire income coming from music, is a very rare feat for many artists, and it was a difficult task to get to that point. And I truly believe that we're really early in Web3. I don't think that there's that big of a community yet for music in general, but that's where we are now. We're trying to build that and build upon the technology that Web3 has helped build. But one thing that I'm really excited about of the Web3 movement is basically giving a whole new revenue stream to artists, because it's very hard to make money as an artist. It's very hard. I think the statistic is 1 out of 1 million music artists can make a living career, income-wise. So my whole goal is to bring a completely new revenue model to artists by letting them build art in a completely new way, which is generative. I don't know if you guys know what generative is, but generative music is a whole nother realm that artists can tap into, and then they can build a whole new revenue stream from that. So Web3, very new. We're all very early. We'll see where it goes in the next 10 years.
Shiva?
Yeah, so my red pill moment was very personal, actually. I had a bunch of friends who are graphic artists, and they used to do show art and album art. And just gradually over the last 20 years, it's a dying art form, honestly. Like, less of that was needed, the prices were going down. And then, you know, one day I was hanging out with a few of them, and they were just really happy. And I was like, what's going on? Things are amazing. You're usually really chronically depressed. And they say, no, things are amazing right now. And just to abstract it a little bit, what happened is that they got into NFTs, and they started partnering with music artists, and their collaboration became effectively a new art form that their fans loved, and then they got paid, and then they kept getting paid as a recurring revenue stream, which these people never had before. So that sparked my interest. I started going deeper, understanding what platforms had a role in that, and that's really made me jump over as quickly as possible, because you have two forces coming together, and that's beautiful.
Okay, sweet. Okay, so for me, what got me into music NFTs and NFTs specifically was last year, just as an artist, as a rapper. 2021 was my first like real big money year, my first like, you know, seven-figure year, $1 million year, which took a bit of pressure off of everything needing to be about like an instant payoff or just always relentlessly grinding. So it allowed me to explore a little bit more. And one of the places it led me to was NFTs. And then from NFTs, it led me to music NFTs. And this very sort of profound, like, welcoming for people who, for a few fans that I already had in there, but generally, like, I don't think there's a lot of like real trap music, like aficionados in Web3. But even though we were coming from very different worlds, it was very welcoming. So then I embraced that. So that's what, you know, led me to be like, all right, let's explore more. And then the realization came, oh, hey, there's money here. There's fans here. There's a whole new world here. But now for someone who doesn't really speak the language and whose team, like I have a pretty small team. I'm an independent artist. And I have a pretty small team, and they don't know shit about Web3. No one on my team knows anything about NFTs. Like, people, like some of my team still think crypto is a scam type thing, right? So I'm here very on my own trying to figure this out. So I'm really looking forward to getting specifics from you guys on sort of roadblocks that I've come across. But that's the background for my story. And I think, Shiva, one thing that you sort of mentioned to us prior to us jumping in here right now was talking about artists discovering their potential fan base. In music discovery, we used to talk about fans discovering us. And the reality is, well, we have to actively figure out how to find the people that are going to rock with us, right? So now there's a lot of mechanisms and a lot of data and a lot of approaches for doing that in, you know, the real world, in Web 2, right? Facebook ads and Google ads and all that. But now I want to hear on OpenSea and in Web 3, what's the way that like artists like myself can figure out how to find our people?
Yeah, to start with, we were riffing a little bit backstage. I'm sure others can add to this quite a bit, but it's really early days in the playbooks. But what's really interesting about this world is that all the data is public. So one of the things we're excited about is starting to learn a little bit more about the analytics side of this. In other words, let's say you do your first NFT drop. You have a community out there. What types of things might you do, whether it's a follow-on drop, whether it's a collaboration, something specific you might tease out with that community, and what happens to engagement over time? Those are the types of visibility that people lack in this world, and I don't think it's going to look like your typical, you know, Instagram dashboard with a bunch of lines and charts. It's going to look much more like events and engagement coming to life, and those are the types of things that we're just trying to figure out how to visualize now.
What do you mean by events?
Oh, for example, maybe you've got a roadmap around your NFT project. Maybe there's some real-world events that are happening around that. What happens to buying and selling ahead of that event?
Okay.
What happens to the price of your collection leading up to that? Afterwards, do you basically find new people to join because they now realize your roadmap commitment is coming true, and they really know that this community has real value for them.
Okay.
That's a period of a year for many projects, whereas in the other world it's post by post by post, and that's a very different way to look at the world and manage a community. Is something really in technology we've not done a good job of. So that horizon is what we're really excited about, making come to life.
Got it. Okay.
Turn it over to you.
So, Paris, maybe you can, and you gave me something that I want to come back to, but Paris, maybe, so another sort of, not a roadblock, but another place that I get to where now it becomes very easy to just sort of freeze is wanting to do things perfectly, wanting to do things the right way with respect to, as an artist, putting out my NFT. So specifically, since I've been involved, I've been there's been a lot of actively engaged people telling me to just drop something. We want your NFT, just drop something. We're going to consume it, drop something, drop something. Now, me as an artist, there's definitely this perfectionist quality, which doesn't serve me well, and I'll acknowledge that, right? But then there's also this desire to do things the right way, do things authentically, meaning I know if someone were to jump into the trap world, into the rap world as an outsider and just jump in and throw things out there, it wouldn't be perceived the right way, right? So I have this, there's this catch-22 of I know that we're here early, I understand there's value in just putting things out there, and I do feel kind of dumb in not just spewing shit out there because I know that clearly there's an audience for it, but marry that with I want to do things the right way. What do you say to that artist? What do you say to someone like myself, someone in the audience?
I think that the way musicians are looking at NFTs right now is not the way the future is, to be honest. I think the way NFTs are is a very early template, and people are copying how they see other NFTs being built, and then they continuously copy that. And so you see some doing really well, and then you see a lot do terribly, because I don't really think that's the future of NFTs. NFTs is going to be basically like ownership of something, and you can see it publicly that you own that, whether that's a ticket to an event, whether that's a share of the song, whether that's an art piece. But for me as a musician, and I tell this all the time, I'm not a Web3 artist. I'm an artist, and I have another potential revenue stream in the Web3 space. And I think that's really important that artists don't go and say, I'm a Web3 artist, I'm a Web2 artist. No, you're an artist. You're on YouTube. You're on the Web3 landscape. You're doing NFTs. You're on Spotify. You're on every DSP because you're an artist. You want your music to be heard by everyone. Everyone in the whole world, whether that's someone who has no idea what Web3 is or someone who is very much into it and they want to buy a special piece from you. And so as an artist myself, I hope that answers it. And we're trying to push that narrative with my company Soundmint by bridging the two worlds, Web 2 and Web 3, because right now specifically staying in Web 3 is very early, and it's actually can be detrimental to artists who solely try to be in Web 3 because there's such a massive audience, the whole world, in Web 2 still. So you have to bridge the two. You can't just rely on Web 3.
I think it's a really good reminder because I will say that Web 3 can feel sort of insular, and there are people in Web 3, including artists, who they do only live in Web 3. So I think having a platform that reminds the artist, hey, this only needs to be a piece of what you're doing is useful.
The future of Web 3, you won't know you're in Web 3. That's what's going to happen. We're just going to be there. Everyone's going to be in it. No one's even going to really understand that this is where we started. But the future of Web 3 is going to be seamless. You're going to have a wallet, and it just follows you along. And my grandma will have one, and she won't even know it's Web 3. That's the future of Web 3.
Got it. All right, so Andrew, so now you're in live ticketing, right? So as an artist, when you start to do live shows, when you're touring, when you're doing festivals, that to me is the sign that, all right, I've reached this threshold, I've made it at least to a certain level, right? So now you're on you're the NFT equivalent of sort of legitimate shows, right? There's a lot of ways you can do, you can do homemade shows in Web3. You're doing it when there's some demand there. You're working with some players. So talk about how you would guide that artist who's now finding success in Web3 and now is looking to do their shows in like the legitimate way, fuck with your platform type thing, give some advice, give us some game.
Yeah, cool. So, you know, we started building in 2017 to eliminate scalping, authenticate tickets, and put money back to the artists and the venues on the secondary market. You know, tickets are more than just a barcode or a receipt. Our tickets basically come to life when they're scanned. They're full of media, audio, video. When we work with our clients, we like to build a roadmap. So don't, you know, over-promise and under-deliver. Really try and, you know, serve your fans, which are really the super fans, because they're the ones that are investing in you and, you know, paying. You know, you want to give them something tangible, something that they can kind of live and, you know, use.
So just to clarify, this is NFT ticketing for real shows.
Exactly.
Okay.
We are ticketing events, festivals, conferences. You know, we have a full scannable barcode, easy scanning in at venues, and your ticket comes to life. And that begins the user journey for fan engagement. So
what's, like, give me an example of one of the most creative or one of the most rewarding, like, experiences you saw where the artist, like, it was not just your basic setup of here's your NFT ticket. They did something that was actually fascinating, that if you were a fan, you would be like, yo, I love that shit. That was worth every...
Yeah. So a recent example, we just partnered with the MGM in Vegas, and a ticket that we did was, you know, sick animation. It was a state change. So you bought it black and white, scanned it in at the venue, it turned color, the animation, and, you know, the dance scene expanded. So that, like, was
when you're looking at it on your phone.
On its own, yeah.
Okay.
In our wallet. From there, you had VIP experience at the show. We airdropped a food and bev coupon. So after the show, everyone who held an NFT ticket could go and be together and talk about that experience. We also airdropped a nightclub voucher, and then the next day where they woke up, they had a video from the dance crew. Thanks for coming out. It was a personal, you know, video, and then they got a VIP pool pass for the.
A what pass?
Swimming pool.
For pool pass.
The VIP pool pass.
Nice.
So, you know,
who was that? What artist? Who did that?
Jabberwockies at MGM Vegas.
Got it. Okay.
So, you know, that was an example of building a roadmap for them that's custom to them.
So they got a residency in Vegas. So all their shows are NFT ticketed?
Right.
Oh wow. Okay.
You know, festivals, another amazing you know, execution for NFT tickets, sponsorship, airdrops, just ways to really expand on that experience.
All right, so I got one for Shiva and Paris, like specifically about the opportunities as a platform for an artist. So right now, my biggest platform is probably Instagram. Shiva was at Instagram, and he was talking about some of the hurdles that artists face, specifically that while you're hitting, that's great. All your posts are hitting, that's great. But if you miss, if you have a few duds, you might stay stuck there, right? And Instagram and obviously Facebook are sort of like older players now that have established this system that it can work for you, it might not work for you. As relatively new platforms, OpenSea and SoundMint, talk about the opportunity for a musician, for someone like me, that exists just by virtue of the platform being new, and there not being this, like, these years or like a decade of built-in way to do things.
Well, let me start by saying I really liked how you said it earlier, right? This is an ecosystem. As an artist, you've got all kinds of tools. You have a playground out there, and you're trying to figure out what works for you and your fans at the end of the day, and that's really important. But one thing, by starting off new, is that we have a chance to just revisit what it means when the actual artist can define the business model for their community. In other words, who do I reward? What value do they get for different actions they take? What do I reward in terms of, like, airdropping something cool to them and having full control of that without being dependent on any platform's roadmap to make that happen? Okay. That's really interesting on one side. And then the second side of it is, well, what role does the platform play then? It can make it easy to buy the stuff, right? It can make sure it's a protected environment around it so you don't have copies and duplicates. But the other thing it can do is provide you guidance about maybe who you should collab with. And that's something that we're excited about. So for example, here's one artist, and I've got an awesome fan base. Here's an artist like you that has a different fan base. You can see that data. It's observable. Maybe you should do a collab together, and we should give you guidance on, who to talk to and make that easier. That's one example.
Dope. Just, Paris, so we have a couple of minutes left. If there's any questions, Paris is going to answer his part. And if there's any questions, just put up your hand and we'll get to you.
So real quickly, because we have 2.5 minutes, really wish I could discuss in detail what I'm building or what my team and I are building at SoundMint. It's a completely different approach with how NFTs are used, and really it's just about creating new revenue models for artists without keeping them captive by NFT holders, because that happens a lot from artists. You feel obligated to your NFT holders, which they are your
100%,
investors, but it's
100%.
very hard as an artist to create art and then feel like they have to constantly do stuff for those NFT holders, because as an artist, you're so focused on your art. So I'm building a completely new approach where the holders will have benefits and the artists can build art, and there's no obligation on either side. There's going to be an ecosystem that benefits both parties without holding either person captive to that NFT. So that's about all I can say at this point, but yeah, I'm really excited for the future of music and NFTs. Really.
I will say one thing from talking to you guys. I don't know if there's any hands up, Andrew. If there are, you just catch them because we're getting blinded. But I will say from talking to you guys, there is. All right, you can just stand up, shout out your question for us.
Sure. How do you think bands or musicians that are interested in getting into Web3 should value onboarding their current fans to Web3 versus finding new fans and collectors that are
I'd love to answer that if you don't mind.
Yeah, go.
'cause
Go.
that's
I can answer that as well. Yep.
I mean, onboarding your current fans and trying to force them into Web3 is like the worst way to do it. Like, you don't want to do that. You want to just basically approach your fans and give them a whole new way to access the artist. And people are going to go into it if they really want to. And trying to make people buy your NFT just because you're an artist can actually be detrimental to that artist, because it makes them look like a sellout, or it makes them look like something that they wouldn't otherwise be looked at. So I'd really recommend just being natural about it. Create the collections for your super fans, and then also continue building your art for the fans that don't want to enter Web3 yet.
Yeah, and what I say is my experience sort of echoes that, in that when I first told my fan base about Web3 and my sort of journey there, I thought there was no response, but it only takes a very small amount of your real fans to come to Web3 for that impact to be felt in Web3. So for what it's worth. Because everyone just shout out your social if anyone wants to get in touch. We're out of time now.
Sure, it's at Paris Blohm. It's my name, Paris Blohm, BLOHM. And then SoundMint XYZ is the company that we're building.
I'm just going to steer you to the corner. Yellow Heart has a booth outside. We're ticketing the awards dinner tonight. Scan the QR code. Get your free NFT ticket to tonight's award.
Shiva.
At Shiva R, and DMs are open.
And I'm Shah, and you can find me Day of Shah, DAYOFSHAH, on all the platforms. If you see me this week, stop me, feel free to come. And I think we're all friendly. Come, say what's up, and appreciate you guys. Thanks so much.
So we have a few more minutes, and this panel for me, the next panel was about the music business by professionals. And I mentioned this at the beginning. I'm turning 64 years old tomorrow. And,
Hey!
Happy birthday.
And I'm like Benjamin Button. I'm getting younger. Like, I literally started when like record companies used to play sugar daddy. Like, they just say, here's a few $100,000, just like get an apartment, buy some drugs, pay for your girlfriend's whatever, pantyhose. Well, maybe not that, but you get the idea. And now it's a different thing. So what all four of you, Paris and Andrew and Shah and Shiva, are talking about really is the future. So we have a few more moments for questions, and I think you're going to get a different music panel, but not a better panel of people to ask. So I'm going to pass the mic. If anyone else has a question, please raise your hand now, because these guys really have wisdom about this experience. I'm going to come over to you.
And as you ask your questions, this panel here is very different in each approach. So it's really cool that you'll get completely different perspectives on how we all approach NFTs. And no one is right or wrong. It's just a completely different perspective.
Thank you. I was curious about when you mentioned bridging Web 2 and Web 3, specifically from a release perspective. Does the user experience, the user consumption habit have to change for Web 3 to be brought in on a release? And I guess how would you release a song in Web 3, but also put it to all the typical DSPs and other outlets?
Yeah, I mean, so the biggest problem we're having, and we'll continue having until there's a mass adoption, is the onboarding into like the different chains. So just to make a MetaMask, just to make a wallet in any of these chains, it takes a little bit of technological knowledge. And sometimes, I mean, most people really don't know how to do that yet, but we're gonna get there. But in terms of onboarding and releasing onto other DSPs and whatnot, like I don't consider anyone a competitor in this space. We're all working together. Like Sound.xyz, they're doing a model where they sell 25 NFTs, and it's a song that already exists on all the DSPs like Apple Music and Spotify, etc. So basically, the fans get to just buy a version or that song and feel like they're an early adopter. And so there's definitely you're able to release on any DSP you want and still release NFTs of that. It's just you have to be clear about what that NFT is. Is it ownership of that song? Probably not. It's probably just a digital collectible showcasing that you're a super fan and you have one of those NFTs. So yeah, to answer your question, you can release on Web3 and on Web2.
Yeah, I'd just like to piggyback on that. At Yellow Heart, we really are a hybrid between Web 2, Web 3, meaning you don't need a MetaMask wallet. You can, if you want, you can pay with credit cards. You don't need a 12 seed phrase. So we really make the experience very easy for people with no crypto experience. If you buy a music collectible on OpenSea, it's hard to access streaming content. We have our own wallet, built-in audio and video streaming, so everything is gated by owning the NFT and makes it a really easy experience to own and stream music. It's a question if music is really valuable, but I think the utility and the benefits that can come along with music makes it a very valuable package that artists can sell.
And to add on to that, so you'll want to be aware of like what chain these NFTs are on, because like an NFT on the Ethereum network isn't going to be the same as, or they could be the same NFT, but they're on different chains. So you're going to want to know like what chain that's on and where the collectors are coming from, because certain chains have more collectors, etc. So I'd actually love to know more about your product, because I would love to know more.
Thank you, guys. I wish we could go on forever. Like, this was a great, great panel. And please give them a really big round of applause. Look them up. Follow them on Twitter and Discord. Let's take a little group photo, if you guys don't mind.
Let's do it.
It's the first panel. I'm saying let's take a group photo.